Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the bunker. Today we're going to be tackling a topic that several listeners have reached out and requested the bunker actually make a comment, make a statement here. So instead of just sort of putting out a tweet or just a post, I wanted to actually turn this into an entire episode, and it turns out that, I've actually stumbled upon more content to add to this, which is also relevant to this topic, and this is interesting. I'm just going to say this is very, very interesting. So we have this sort of recent disclosure, I'll put in air quotes, movement and the acknowledgement by Congress, by the United States Navy, possible alien crafts, or at least, strange aerial phenomena that's taking place. People are foaming at the mouth, talking about disclosure. Is it going to happen? Is it not going to happen? Can we trust it? The comments and everything in the last few years have been, you can run the gambit to one extreme to the other of everything you can imagine on this topic. Those of us that have been following the UFO issue or paranormal events in general know that this is not a recent event. This didn't start happening in 2001 or 2014. And this has been going on for a very, very long time. And it is significant that the government or members of the government are openly in the media at least acknowledging that this is possible, that something strange is happening. But some fairly recent events have unfolded that sort of feeds into this narrative that are significant, but also I have problems with it. I'm gonna just be straight with you. I have problems with it. So I'm gonna be playing you some clips from News Nation. Came across my YouTube feed, and I'm gonna play these clips, and I'm gonna just sort of periodically stop them, and I'm gonna comment here and there and add context or color commentary, however you want to put it. But the first clip I'm going to play is a former member of Air Force intelligence that has come forward. He's being labeled a whistleblower. Okay. So that would imply that he's going to be spilling the beans on something. He's going to be releasing information that doesn't want to be released by those in power. That's what the definition of a whistleblower is. Anyway, so we're going to play these clips. The first one is, again, an interview with this gentleman, Grush, I think his name is, and he's going to be talking about some information that he is privy to, apparently, through either Air Force intelligence or other contacts in the intelligence community. I'm not sure. Again, I can't comment on the validity of the station News Nation. I'm not familiar with it. It just came across my feed, and I started watching these videos, and it's very interesting, and it's topical. This is what's going on in the media right now. And so let's jump into this. So the first clip is News Nation covering this interview with this UFO whistleblower.
Bombshell claims from a military whistleblower. UFO wreckage recovered by the U.S. kept classified by a secret government program for decades. Tonight, a world television exclusive you will only see on News Nation. Welcome to Elizabeth Vargas Reports, earning your trust every night. UFOs exist. The U.S. government found quite a number of them, and they are indeed of non-human origin. Those are the explosive allegations from a former intelligence officer tonight in a whistleblower complaint that the Inspector General is taking very seriously. 36-year-old Air Force veteran David Grush is exposing what he calls a top-secret military program that has reportedly found wreckage of fully intact UFOs. The government now calls them UAPs, or unidentified anomalous phenomena. For years, there have been whispers and rumors that the government had aircraft of non-human origin. This report is the first evidence it might be true. The Inspector General has called Grush's complaint urgent and credible. Tonight, we have a World Television exclusive interview with the whistleblower in which he claims we not only have the aircraft, but the government has been keeping much of its secret from Congress and from the public. News Nation's senior national correspondent Brian Enton is here with the story, and this is a blockbuster.
Okay, I'm going to stop it there. So I think I touched on just a minute ago, if there is a legitimate whistleblower that is revealing classified information or even potentially classified information, that isn't typically something that someone could just get away with without being either run out of town, silenced, forced to, live in another country against their will. Let's think about some whistleblowers that are recent events. David Snowden is a whistleblower. He's not living in Russia by choice. He ended up getting stranded there because the United States basically froze his ability to travel. Julian Assange is a journalist who is the source for a lot of leaked material. He has been tortured for years, has been in solitary confinement for years, is being extradited to the United States, even though he's not even a United States citizen. He's a citizen of Australia. And so, yeah, those are common examples of whistleblowers that have, released information that was, you could say is, it's national security. But you could also say it was in the public's interest to know, especially in the Snowden case, for sure. Well, actually, both of them. Basically, Snowden came forth and was privy to information that proved that the government was spying on every American citizen and just doing it freely, against the Constitution and right of free speech and all kinds of other laws. And because of that, he's stranded in Russia. So that's when I see something like that, I say, okay, yeah, that's a whistleblower. That's information that is being talked about and released and leaked that the government and the system does not want leaked. Because there are repercussions. If you come forward and even if you're doing the right thing, even if you're informing the United States citizens, like as I feel that Snowden did, letting them know that there's a massive crime being committed against all Americans. I think that's information we all need to know, right? But it's also information that the military doesn't want released, and so that's why he's stranded in Russia, can't even come home to his own country. So right off the bat, I find this suspect because this whistleblower is going all over the media and is sharing the story and is not being disappeared or, whatever. So that's a red flag right off the bat. But anyway, we'll continue.
It is a blockbuster. It's really hard to wrap your mind around this. I've been working on this for the past couple of weeks. I'm still having a hard time processing all of it. Over the last couple of years, it sort of became mainstream to discuss UFOs. The government has released videos. They've acknowledged that we don't know what some of this stuff is out there that we have on camera, but this really takes it all to another level. For the very first time, the world is about to hear from a former high-level U.S. intelligence officer who says the government has some of the unidentified craft in its possession. He is revealing these exclusive details about the secret government program.
We're all going against the wind. The wind's 120 knots from the west. Oh my gosh, dude. Wow.
We have all seen these blurry videos of unidentified flying objects. Video evidence, if you will, that old tales of UFOs may not all be conspiracy theories. In recent years, Congress starting an official U.S. government Unidentified Aerial Phenomena Task Force, recently renamed the All-Domain Anomaly Resolution Office, or AARO. And now in a News Nation exclusive, David Grush, an Air Force veteran, former member of that task force, and veteran of the National Geospatial Intelligence Agency, is formally blowing the whistle on secrets he says no one has ever shared publicly before.
You are one of the most trusted former intelligence officials in the U.S. defense and intelligence establishment.
Yes, I was.
You were trusted with the most intimate secrets.
Yes.
Grush sitting down with award-winning investigative journalist Ross Coulthart, who's reporting for News Nation and has spent years reporting on the UFO question.
What conclusion did you come to at the end of your time on the UAP task force?
The UAP task force was refused access to a broad crash retrieval program.
When you say crash retrieval, what do you mean?
These are retrieving non-human origin technical vehicles, call it spacecraft if you will, non-human, exotic origin vehicles that have either landed or crashed.
We have spacecraft from another species.
We do, yeah.
How many?
Quite a number.
You're kidding.
Okay, so I'm seeing problems right off the jump here with this guy. Again, like I just stated, if you're a whistleblower, that means you're releasing information that does not want to be released and would not be released were you not to come forward in releasing it, right? That would imply that there would be some sort of repercussions to this, and so that I would feel as though this gentleman Grush is not taking this seriously, but based on his demeanor and his I don't know, there's something about how he's coming across that is just in a complete disconnect with what information that he is claiming here. I mean, this is potentially earth-shattering information. This is like paradigm shifting information, right? And he doesn't even seem serious about this. I don't know. Again, you're just hearing this, you're not seeing it. I don't believe this guy right out of the gate. Sorry.
No. I thought it was totally nuts, and I thought at first I was being deceived. It was a ruse. People started confiding in me. They approached me. I have plenty of current and former senior intelligence officers that came to me, many of which I knew almost my whole career, that confided in me. They were a part of a program. They named the program. I've never heard of it. And they told me, based on their oral testimony, and they provided me documents and other proof, that there was, in fact, a program that the UAP task force was not read into.
Okay, so we're getting secondhand information here. He's claiming that he was told stuff by other individuals, so we're getting that secondhand. He says that he was provided documents. We'll go further into this. Maybe he references these documents for later on in this clip here. But I'm not seeing any documents popping up on the screen. I've not seen or heard anything about any documents anywhere else besides this. I think if this individual had showed these, I don't know. Maybe I'm over-exaggerating my awareness on this topic. I would have thought I would have seen them by now, but let's get deeper into this here, and I would like to see him reference these documents, and let's see some stuff. Let's do this.
Grush alleges the U.S. government has recovered non-human craft for decades. He's filed a whistleblower complaint saying he gave what he calls the classified proof to Congress and the intelligence community inspector general. News Nation has confirmed David Grush's credentials and resume. We've not seen or verified the alleged proof he says he's provided to investigators. He says he can't show us the proof for national security reasons. He also tells us he's not seen photos of the alleged craft himself, but has talked extensively with other intelligence officials who have.
If you're right, if you're telling us the truth, everyone, the entire American public, has...
Okay, there's something that you didn't see there, because again, this is an audio podcast, but it's just odd. They were going over this news report, and like in the in the background as this report goes on, like there's these like cinematic shots of David Grush in the background, just like standing there, looking all serious into the distance. Like I don't know. As this goes on, I'm more and more skeptical. And this is a topic that I wish was true. Let me just be clear. This is the bunker, after all. I wish all this was true. I hope it's all true, but I don't know. This is like the cinematic cutaways just seem really silly and cheesy. I don't know. Like, again, hopefully we're gonna see some bomb evidence that's gonna wrap this all together here. Here we go.
has been lied to for decades.
Yeah, there's a sophisticated disinformation campaign targeting the U.S. populace, which is extremely unethical and immoral.
You are saying to the human race, for the first time, an official intelligence representative at a high level from the US government is saying publicly, we are not alone.
We're definitely not alone. Absolutely, the data points empirically that we're not alone, yeah.
Do we have bodies? Do we have species of
Well,
non-human?
naturally, when you recover something that's either landed or crashed, sometimes you encounter dead pilots. And believe it or not, as fantastical as that sounds, it's true.
Oh, man. I don't know. His demeanor, his body language, everything, I don't know. It just doesn't seem legit to me. I'm sorry. And he's not whistleblowing anything because he's not providing any... He's not coming forward and saying, look, this is going on, and he's not serious about it. He doesn't seem serious at all. Doesn't seem emotionally engaged in this thing. He seems like he's just, you know... I don't know. He's acting for B-roll or something. I don't know. This seems super... Oh, man. The further we get into this, the more skeptical I am on this. Anyway, again, we'll continue, and hopefully there's more meat to this as we get further into it.
It's also harder for people to wrap their minds around the concept of a crashed object from somewhere else. It's easier to accept that, yeah, we see things in the sky that we can't explain.
Journalist Leslie Kean broke Rush's whistleblower story this morning in the debrief. Ms. Kean's career has been mainstream and credible, having written a series of reports on UFOs in the New York Times dating back to 2017. He has the credentials, but there's no documents that he's handed over. There's no pictures. And as a journalist, you want to see documents, you want to see pictures. Does that raise a red flag?
Not at all, Brian. I mean, you mean documents that actually describe the craft?
Correct, yeah, like government documents, or to be able to see it for ourselves.
Of course, don't we all want that? And the problem with that is all of that information is classified. You know, as we said in the story, everything that Grush told Congress and told the Inspector General of both the IC, the Intelligence Community Inspector General, and the Department of Defense Inspector General, all of that information is classified.
In 2017, Kean reported exclusively in the New York Times.
Okay, so Leslie Kean, I'm going to disagree with you here. Again, it's just going to follow into my narrative here. My argument is that if you were a true whistleblower, that you would have those documents. That's what a whistleblower does. They leak the information that does not want to be leaked. That's literally what the definition of what a whistleblower is. This guy's coming forward and just sharing secondhand information with zero proof, zero pictures, zero documents, zero additional supporting testimony. So he's not whistleblowing. He's not blowing a whistle. He might have the whistle in his hand, but he's not blowing it. Sorry.
That the Pentagon had a secret UFO program. 3 years later, the Pentagon confirmed her story. Her latest report is even more explosive, but Kean says she has multiple sources who back up Grush's story.
I believe it because of all the sources I have who have told me the same thing. So who am I to doubt these very, very high-level people who have been inside these programs for decades?
Well, we would doubt them because there's no evidence to support their claims. We have, again, I'm not trying to throw shade on Leslie Kean here. She has helped bring this story into the mainstream. For sure, but it's these unnamed sources that just drive me bananas, because it could be the same unnamed sources that have been speaking to Leslie Kean that are speaking to David Grush. They could be just the same team of people spreading the narrative, and if they're not providing any evidence that can be either checked, verified, or debunked, then it's just a story. That's it. It's just I don't care who tells you something, what their position is or whatever. If you have no facts or no data to back up what these claims are, then it's just a story. Damn it. And again, I'm ripping this apart because I care about this, because I want this all to be true. That's why I'm shredding this right now like Wolverine, because I don't I'm not seeing any. Damn it. Anyway, I'm sorry. Well, let's continue.
have done their work and are all telling me the same thing. I mean, I don't think there's some kind of conspiracy among all these people who don't know each other to make something like this up.
So I've got to be blunt about this. You're not making this up. This is not a lie.
No, absolutely not.
Because everybody watching this right now is looking at your face. They're going, is this guy for real?
I am for real. And I'm sitting here at great personal risk and obvious professional risk by talking to you today.
And just within the last 10 minutes or so, the Pentagon has released a statement to News Nation about this report. They say to date, AARO has not discovered any verifiable information to substantiate claims that any programs regarding the possession or reverse engineering of extraterrestrial materials have existed in the past or exist currently. AARO is committed to following the data and its investigation wherever it leads. AARO, working with the Office of the General Counsel and the Air Force Office of Special Investigations, has established a safe and secure process for individuals to come forward with information to aid AARO in its congressionally mandated historical review. AARO's historical review of records and testimonies is ongoing and due to Congress by June 2024, and AARO welcomes the opportunity to speak with any former or current employee or contractor who believes they have information relevant to this historical review. And Elizabeth, we know that David Grush, he's filed that whistleblower complaint. He's been on the record under oath testifying to many of these things that he said in our report tonight.
Right, and it's important to point out that this statement from the Pentagon, from AARO, Grush is alleging that this top secret program is keeping it a secret from AARO. So.
Yeah, exactly. And if Grush what he's saying is true, you know, the spokespeople, all of those folks at that level wouldn't even know this was going on anyway.
All right, I got to ask you, you know, he has a compelling story to tell. Very little of it seems like firsthand knowledge. Isn't he just repeating what somebody else has told him or somebody else has showed him?
Yes, that is what he's doing, but he says he's talked to a number of people who are in very, very high-level positions. He also had basically the highest level of classified material information that he was able to receive. We went back and checked over, you know, his history, all of his credentials, check out completely. Unfortunately, there's
in addition, a couple people have come forward publicly to vouch for him, people who are high-ranking.
They have, and this article first came out this morning, and I think it's interesting that, you know, there hasn't been any sort of effort to discredit what he has said either from the Defense Department.
So interesting. So what happens, you know, and have we had any reaction, by the way, from members of Congress who have been taking this seriously in the last couple of years? We've seen congressional hearings, we've seen NASA's hearing just about a week ago on UFOs or UAPs, whatever you prefer to call them. We've seen the DNI give a briefing to the White House on this. When we've been hearing whispers and rumors for years. I remember even former President Trump, when he was in office, sort of saying, oh my gosh, if you knew what I knew about UFOs.
Yeah.
So there's always been this intrigue.
There has, and think about it, Elizabeth, if you go back 15 or 20 years, if we were sitting here talking about UFOs, people would think that we were nutty. Now it's gotten to the level of where it is somewhat accepted because the government has come forward to a certain extent and acknowledged that there are these videos that exist. The Navy has released the videos themselves and said, we're not sure exactly what this is that we're seeing. Of course, what Grush is saying really just sort of takes it to the next level.
Boy, it sure does. It's almost impossible to believe. All right, Brian Nenton, thanks so much.
Thank you for watching. Go to News.
Okay, so So they touch on some stuff there that I think is important to include here, is that, you know, he's not sharing any information or documents or verifiable information to the media, but he has supposedly testified, and so perhaps under that context, much more information was released, or maybe some verifying information was provided. What is troubling, though, is there isn't even a statement by Mr. Grush that he did provide Congress with corroborating evidence. That's not something that's stated clearly. It's very unclear what information he actually has, what information he has actually shared. And so I'm having a hard time with this, to be completely honest here. But what's really weird is that, like, shortly after I see this report, is I see this next report, and this next report is absolutely bonkers. And honestly, there are some red flags associated with this report as well, and we'll get to that next. You may have heard this story. A family in Nevada, I believe it was Las Vegas. Yeah, Las Vegas, claims that they saw something crash in their yard and they saw beings associated with it. So that's our follow-up clip. That's what we're going to get to next. Let's just jump right into it.
It is the police call everybody will be talking about. Thanks for joining us here at 6 o'clock. I'm Denise Valdez.
I'm Brian Loftus. A family says something crashed into their backyard, prompting them to call 911, saying they saw creatures walking around.
Our 8 News Now investigators digging into this for weeks now. And tonight, our David Charnes with the video you will only see on 8 News Now. David?
Right, Denise, sources telling the 8 News Now investigators that several agencies believe something landed or crashed. Whether it was non-humans or not, it certainly scared the people living on this property. Now, before we show you that video, listen to their call for help.
There's like an 8-foot person beside it, and another one's inside, and it has big eyes and looking at us, and it's still there.
Okay, where is this on your property?
In my backyard. I swear to God, this is not a joke. This is actually...
Hold on a second. Okay, again, my same problem with the whistleblower applies to the tone and the emotional state, seemingly, of at least what it sounds like of this 911 call. It seems to me if something crashed in my backyard and I walked out there and I saw, first of all, I'd have a camera ready and recorders ready, but that's just me, right? But if I went back there and saw 10-foot tall people walking around and they had giant eyes and they're looking at me, I'm going to be freaking the hell out. This dude seems casual as hell, and that's a problem.
We're terrified of it.
So there's 2 people or 2 subjects that are in your backyard?
Correct, and they're very large. They're like 8 foot, 9 feet, 10 foot. I don't know. They look like aliens to us. Big eyes. They have big eyes, like I can't explain it. And big mouth. They're shiny eyes, and they're not human. They're 100% they're not human.
Okay.
I like the 911 dispatcher. It's just like, okay. Because again, I don't. If this individual sounded, he doesn't sound terrified to me. Although the reports keep coming out that they were so terrified, and the police corroborated. They seem sincere because they seem so scared. I'm not hearing this. I'm not hearing fear or any distress at all in this voice, and that's a problem considering the subject matter and what's being reported. It doesn't seem. There's a disconnect, again, between the information being provided and the emotional state of the messenger. Here we go.
Well, the 8 News Now investigators obtaining video as officers then responded to the call you just heard. You'll see the officers also saw something in the sky that night, but the big question is, what was it, and is it all connected?
Leave her alone.
It's almost midnight on May 1st when a Las Vegas Metro Police officer's body cam catches this, something flashing low in the sky.
911 emergency.
Minutes later,
there's like an 8-foot person beside it, and another one's inside, and it has big eyes and looking at us, and it's still there.
Someone calls 911 reporting 2 large figures in their backyard.
No, I'm so nervous right now.
The 8 News Now investigators obtaining another officer's video as he's sent to the Northwest Valley home.
I have butterflies, bro. I've only saw a shooting star, then these people say there's aliens in their backyard.
By now, it's more than an hour after that bright light. Officers meeting up with the caller and his family.
Okay, hold on. Whoa, hold up a second. So this. Okay, again, I've seen the body cam footage of this what it looks like is a meteor coming down, but very close to the ground. Okay, that's concerning, right? That could be dangerous, right? So even if it's just a meteorite, that as low as to the ground as that seemed like in that video, that's a problem. Because something that big, that's a meteorite falling down to the earth, that's going to do some damage when it lands. I mean, it looked pretty big, right? So a couple of minutes after this thing is seen, police officers witnessed it. Minutes later, this 911 call comes in. The police don't get there for an hour? The Earth is literally being invaded by 10-foot tall aliens. And it takes the cops an hour. Let's give them the benefit of the doubt. It took them 45 minutes to make it to the scene. And anyway, sorry.
What'd you see?
It was like a big creature.
A big creature?
Yeah, like around 10 feet tall.
I'm not going to BS you guys. One of my partners said they saw something fall out of the sky too, so that's why I'm kind of curious. Did you see anything land in your backyard, or?
They see like a big. That's what they say. They see like a big something with light.
What I saw right now, I do believe in it.
Police walk into the backyard to investigate, but Metro blacked out that part of the video because it's considered private property. What's clear? They're taking this call seriously.
Hey, this might sound like a really dumb question, but did you guys see anything fall out of the sky?
Asking others what they saw.
I would normally discount it as nothing. However, seeing as one of my partners said they saw it too, only reason I'm actually investigating it further.
Okay. Okay. So the police officer informs these individuals they're questioning here that some people, some civilians told me that the aliens crash landed and they're here, and I would normally say this is bullshit, but another cop said it. So I'm gonna take it seriously. No, I don't know if that's what he means, but that's how it seems to be coming across here. Either way, did something crash in their yard? And they don't show the body cam footage once they enter the yard because it's private property. Okay, I wasn't sure that was a thing, but okay, that sounds relevant. That sounds valid. But what did they see when they got there? Was there wreckage? Was there evidence of something that was there? Was there? I don't know, man. This seems like a trailer to a bad B movie. I don't know, man. I know. We'll continue. Maybe some more evidence is presented here, and this gets validated more as we go here. Let's continue. I'm very skeptical. Holy crap.
That investigation turning up no concrete answers as of Wednesday. Whatever or whoever fell into that yard, long gone within minutes.
Oh, hey, if those 9-foot beings come back, don't call us, all right? Deal with it yourself. I ain't dealing with that.
So yeah, this is quite weird, Brian was saying as we're watching this story. Now, we've been in contact with the family in that video, and as you heard in that 911 call, they seem very reasonable and honestly quite scared as you heard them in the call. No, they don't seem impaired in any way. And whatever crashed by the time that police got there was gone, but sources say that there's really no dispute. Something was in their yard. Exactly what? We do not know.
I mean, it's so interesting. So, like, the Metro officer sees something, the neighbor sees something. I mean, so what could it be?
Well, we know that there are obviously a lot of military bases around this area. George Knapp covers a lot of that stuff for us on the 80s Now Investigators. We're showing you drone video from above that area. And we know, of course, Creech not far away, Nellis Air Force Base not far. I checked in with them. They say they are not involved at all, and we are waiting to hear from the Pentagon as well.
And you talked to these people. It seemed completely legitimate to you. And do you have any personal thoughts on maybe what it was?
Right. So it seems from talking to our sources that something happened. There was obviously some flash in the sky. A lot of people saw it that night on the night of April 30th, early in the morning on May 1st. Did that exact thing land in their yard? I don't know. But These people said they saw some SUV circling the area. Could this have been some piece of equipment that malfunctioned? Maybe they saw something and then someone came. I can't believe we're talking about this.
Right.
Someone came and
Picked
retrieved it from the backyard in the SUV. We don't know. This all comes as a former high-level intelligence officer, a veteran, was on News Nation talking about how there is a program where the government collects some unidentified objects. So this might be that. We just don't know. We're going to work to find out, though.
And
Brian
no
Denny.
substances. They were looking with clear eyes. Goodness.
Very interesting.
Not big buggy eyes, though.
This is really unique. Thank you, David.
Okay, so I resent that comment because I don't know of any substances that would make you see a UFO crash in your yard and you see 10-foot aliens step out of it. I'm sorry. I know there's a lot of crazy substances out there. I know that the CIA has been studying it since the 1950s. But to my knowledge, there's no substance out there that would make you witness a UFO crash with 10-foot tall aliens walking around if it weren't actually happening. Sorry, but so anyway, so that's a recent a recent update to the story, and I find it so interesting, but like problematic at the same time. I don't know. I have a lot of problems with the whistleblower portion of the story. I find his demeanor very problematic. I have a pretty good bullshit detector, and I'm having a lot of problems with that whistleblower story. It's just interesting, the timing of it. This whistleblower comes out. There have been, recent stories of, the congressional UFO report is released, and and it's like 7 pages of just crap. Doesn't really say anything. There's no acknowledgement of Blue Book or the last several decades of research. Hundreds and thousands of reports that have been cited by individuals. There's no credible agency stepping forward to even debunk the claims of the last several decades, right? Since Blue Book, the military has been basically silent on this issue. And now all of a sudden, the coverage of UFO and UAP, what they call it now, it's suddenly everywhere. And now that's what makes me skeptical about the nature of this and who is actually in charge of the release of this information and why they're releasing this information and why now. I don't know. There's just something about it that just doesn't wash for me. And honestly, I was going to release this episode with those first 2 clips of my commentary on it, which I had already recorded before jumping onto another program, and then last Thursday night, and then leaving town for the entire weekend and going into Virginia. But what I ended up doing was I deleted all that, and I decided to just approach this clearly 100% reset from square one, re-record all this. And the reason that I wanted to redo this is because of this third clip that has come to light since I recorded those first initial clips from last week. Now, here we go again back to News Nation, and they have a retired police officer and Ben Hansen that have stepped forward to research this incident and to see if they can figure out what's going on here. And so now these 2 gentlemen are interviewed on News Nation, and it seems that these witnesses that made this 911 call have now vanished and are completely ghosted, and nobody can get in contact with them. Nobody knows what's going on. So let's jump into that clip right now and see what we can figure out here. As far as, as this story matures and sort of unfolds here, I'm just seeing more and more holes in the story. I have a lot of respect for Ben Hansen, and there's another gentleman here. I don't have his name. I'm sure they'll cover that in the story, but a retired police officer in Las Vegas as well. So hopefully these 2 gentlemen can help us get closer to the truth. And so let's jump into that clip right now and see where we end up after this information. And again, if I see red flags, or if I get that itch, I'll stop the clip and we'll work through it together. Here we go.
There are so many conspiracy theorists now. The internet is sort of on fire over this one. So it's probably most important at this point that I bring in Ben Hansen, because he is the host of Discovery Plus's UFO Witness, and he's been following this case closely. Okay, so Ben, when we talked before, we didn't know a bunch of this other stuff, like the broken leg that was hanging in an awkward position and the eyelashes, and we took video, yet no one has seen the video. This business about police coming to the house afterwards with details like 2 sergeants, a couple of investigators asking to set up cameras, and then the cops say, no, we never did go back. I gotta get your take. What do you make of all of this?
What the? Okay. Whoa. Okay, first of all, I didn't hear any stories about any pictures or videos that were captured by these witnesses. So that's new information. There's a story apparently of other investigators from the police that showed up days later that the police claim didn't happen. This thing just gets messier as we go here. Like, what is going on? I'm sorry. I'm just baffled by this new information here. This is super interesting, and okay. Let's you know what? Let me just let this thing roll, and I hope that these gentlemen sort of shed some more light on this topic, and we, by the end of this clip, we are closer to figuring out what exactly is going on here. So here we go.
Well, it is one of the most bizarre cases, not the most bizarre that I've investigated. You summarize it very well. It starts out with some corroborating evidence. You have a 911 call. You have police taking the family seriously. In fact, I think they would still tell you today that most of them felt they were telling the truth. They seem legitimately frightened. But when you start digging into it, you know, they start to have some inconsistencies. They told George Knapp, local Vegas reporter, that they had video, which you said, of course, you know, was never mentioned in the beginning. The footprints, you don't think to take, you know, photos of those. And it starts to kind of unravel. And then all of a sudden the family stops responding. Now, the media has descended. They've found the location. They're, I'm sure, getting bombarded. And it's natural. Maybe you'd want to go into hiding. But at this point, you'd also hope they'd want to just kind of clear the air once and for all. And, you know, it's very odd because we've looked at it every angle we possibly can, except for maybe doing voice stress analysis. When you played the 911 tape, I was thinking maybe we should do that too.
Well, there's time because we're not getting very far on this, although you have gotten farther than it seems the police have. I'm a little disconcerted with the report that the family said police came a couple days later and did this whole investigation, and the Metro Vegas police have said, no, we didn't. Can you tell me if you've investigated or reported on or witnessed any other incidents of these strange, you know, X-Files-like incidents where people arrive to investigate that apparently don't exist?
Okay, so one thing Ben does actually refer to here is this voice stress test on the 911 call. And so yeah, so I totally agree with that. It doesn't seem like it doesn't seem like the individual making that 911 call is distressed in any way. And considering the subject matter that he's relaying, it isn't consistent. There's a disconnect between, again, which I've said before, there's this disconnect between the information being provided and the emotional state of the messenger. It seems like Ben has picked up on that as well. So,
yeah, absolutely. And, you know, I would say that we do have pretty convincing evidence that has happened in the past, maybe the 50s and 60s. I think it's really difficult to find such a situation now because you could find this type of story in the tabloids. And then if there was a secret-keeping group, who would honestly believe them and take it as true if they came out and just said their story like they've been doing, and there's no need to cover it up. So I do think that's kind of, you know, more in the realm of conspiracy. However, they had photos supposedly, and they released photos of the police being there. That should be easy to verify, but our sources are telling us nothing officially. No one officially went out to follow up. And so if it's not them, and they're seeing these SUVs driving around blacked out, you know, it could be other people, media, onlookers, you know, just trying to figure out what's happened. But I would say it's a very unlikely situation that we have like a shadow agency there.
Well, that's what I would say, but for the fact that last week Ben Grush came forward, and for those who don't know who Ben Grush is, you probably will soon. He's a former Air Force veteran, longtime employee of the Pentagon. He's a whistleblower. He's telling Congress enough is enough. There is a secret program that the government runs to recapture crashed UFOs, suggesting even non-human pilots have been recovered as well. That's a picture of him. It's being taken seriously. Congressmen have responded. They're asking for hearings. So it feels like we're getting some traction with this fella. Whether or not the evidence that he saw was given to him erroneously or whether this is all true, I'm not going to weigh in on that. The family said they saw blue-green sparks before the crash in their backyard and then the strange description of the aliens. And the American Meteor Society shows multiple reports of something sighted right around the same time as far away as California. I get it. If it's a meteor, that would make perfect sense, but for the fact that there's this backyard business and the alien beings business. How do you square those two reports?
Well, absolutely. I mean, that's exactly the point here is that let's say you had an elaborate hoax you were wanting to perpetrate, right? And what are you going to sit around and wait for a meteor or some event to kind of spark that off literally so that you start perpetrating your hoax, right? That to me doesn't make sense. We have pretty much determined, I think there was a meteor. That's what they're seeing. We've pulled up, Google Earth images and lined everything up. But it is possible still that something did fly over. Let's say a piece of it landed on their property. Okay, so if we take them at their word, what I really have a hard time with is the descriptions of these beings. You're either making up a hoax or you're not. I don't really see anybody, mistaking, let's say, a coyote or some, other animal in the backyard as an 8 to 10 foot,
Right.
tall creature.
Yeah.
Right.
Especially
So
with that
I mean, that's the
description,
real
with the
problem.
big
They're either
eyes,
making up or not.
right? The big eyes, the glossy eyes, the mouth, the broken leg. Yeah, I mean, 8 to 10 feet. I want to bring someone else into our conversation, Ben, if I can. So stand by for a second. Mark Berry is a retired Las Vegas Metro Police officer who's also been working with Ben on investigating this case. So, Mark, you're the perfect person to ask about this piece that involves the so-called, Metro Vegas Police going to the house days after this crash. A couple of sergeants, couple of investigators, the family reports, and they didn't exist. The Metro Police are saying we didn't. Do we believe the Metro Police when they say they didn't? Or do we think that somebody did show up dressed as them?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, Metro's a great organization. Their officers are some of the most finely trained officers in the world. And, they handled it, in my book, they pretty much did what they could as patrol officers. The fact that the family said some sergeants came in afterwards and put up cameras, that's not protocol in any kind of unit within the department. We're not going to do that. Basically, when you show up on scene, once you gain that real estate, you're not going to give it up. So if you need to call in criminalistics, if you need to call in detectives, if you need to call in another unit, you're going to do that, but you're going to remain on scene, probably, start a perimeter or something like that. These officers, I'm not going to discount the story. They had no reason not to believe other than, it's pretty out there when you hear about the descriptions, but they're there to look and get to the bottom of it as fast as they can. And they did go out back. They did see some, I guess you could call it evidence, but, I also have dove into this a little bit besides talking to the officers involved. I used some of my air assets and were able to look out in the back of the yard and see the circular impressions that they were talking about. And in that backyard, there's a number of trailers, a number of flatbeds, and the circular impressions are very indicative of rear wheel tracking. So if you drive through a puddle, your front tires make a mark, your back tires are going to make another mark. So you're going to have two separate circles. And if you can see, it's the same depth and the same width of the other vehicle tracks that are going around that shed. So to me, it looks very indicative of a vehicle track, and those are back real tracking.
Okay, so what they're showing here as he's talking is a aerial view of this lot where this crash allegedly happened, and you can see like some flatbeds, some trailers, and campers, and all kinds of stuff. And there's a shed there. Yeah, it's difficult to ascertain based on what I'm looking at what sort of lot this is, but this is apparently behind this home of the individuals who called 911. And you do see some repeated sort of normal vehicle tracks going around this little shed, and there's a circular pattern in the middle of this area that they had sort of highlighted with a red circle, and it definitely could be something, but it, based on what I'm looking at, it does look like it's just vehicle tracks. Someone had just driven around in a circle, maybe doing donuts in a vehicle. You know, it could be that. It could be something else. I don't know. But just based on what I'm looking at here in this little image on this news report, as this gentleman is reporting this, I can see where he would say, like, yeah, this is probably just vehicle tracks. And I would agree with him 100%. It looks like just some vehicles typically drive around, they turn around, they probably, you know, use this lot to maybe change direction and turn around their vehicle or their trailer, whatever they're pulling, and so therefore generating these circular patterns on the ground. Could it be something else? Like, very well could be. I don't know. I'm just looking at a picture. I'm looking at what looks like a drone footage of, you know, maybe 150 feet above the ground, above this lawn, or this yard rather, and it's like a sandy sort of dirt lot, and there's a looks like a shipping container out there. There's a little shed. There's vehicles and campers and so forth. Looks like a construction site is what it looks like. And these circular patterns. Now, to me, it looks like just vehicle prints, like terrestrial vehicle prints, truck prints, or car prints. But you know, maybe it isn't. I don't know. But I'm glad that, you know, they're offering some concrete, logical explanations for some of this stuff. Not saying that's definitely what it is, but it's definitely what it could be.
Well, that would be a logical explanation for the naysayers to say there's always an explanation for this. So thank you for bringing that part up about those mysterious circles in the backyard. But Mark, you also spent some time staked out. Like, you staked out to see if you could get a read on this family. The family has ghosted everybody. They're not responding to interviewers that they made appointments with. They're not responding to telephone calls. I don't even know if they're in the house anymore. But what was your read when you were parked out front for hours and hours?
Yeah, so I'll admit, I drive a black SUV.
Okay, there you go. We can explain.
Debunked! Debunked! There is no men in black. There is only undercover, not even undercover, but retired police officers driving around in SUVs, and that's what we're mistaking for the men and women in black. Here we go.
Black SUVs away now.
I do not wear black government-issued sunglasses, so there's a little difference there. I have talked to some of the neighbors. I have been able to confirm noise, the big giant boom that the Ring camera had caught at one part of the valley. But there's some more issues with the backyard. Again, I don't want to discount what they're saying, but the house has been dark. There has been no movement in and out other than onlookers going, you know, by the house real slow, taking pictures. As far as movement in the house itself or in the rear, the backyard, or even in the trailers, it's been dark. And it's been dark for the last few days. So I'm sure that they may have left town. But, you know, I don't know. They may just be laying low.
And Mark, I'll tell you, you know, there's a perfectly good explanation. They're freaking out over all this attention, and so they amscrade, or, as others would say, they've been taken by the government.
Did a newscaster just use amscrade? What? Sorry, that was really funny. But in all seriousness, it is interesting that this family has sort of disappeared, and there's no further statements. They're not releasing any other information. They're not releasing these videos or pictures they supposedly captured. They've sort of dropped off the face of the earth. Again, it's a red flag. It's something's going on here, and I'm not sure what it is. But when I hear amps grade, I have to stop it. Here we go.
And they're being hidden away and interrogated. I mean, this is what the internet's lighting up about. So can I ask you, Ben, about, I learned this about you today and I thought it was awesome. You have spent years debunking these hoaxes. You actually have developed a hoaxer profiling system, and you have 5 types. Can you run through those 5 types real quickly for me?
Okay, so, wow. Okay, so let me stop you right there and just let you know that if there's any doubt that Ben Hansen is a former FBI agent, just a federal agent in general, you can go ahead and put those doubts to rest, because this profiling system he has here is like straight up as fed as you can fucking get, man. Check it out. It's interesting. It's very interesting. Here we go.
Sure. I like to think of it as verifying. I hosted a show called Fact or Fake for many years, and that was kind of where I developed all this. So one of them I call clinical con artists, and these are more like sociopaths, and they do it usually for fame or fortune. They usually have like a diagnosable personality disorder. Then you have legendizers. Now, if I were to categorize where I think this is heading, it's often possible that people have legitimate experiences, something that scares them, they believe is real, but they also are frustrated they're not being believed, and they start making up things or legendizing, embellishing the facts. And we see maybe a little of that happening here. Then we have commercial campaigners. These are the people you see making viral videos online, doing it, to showcase their skills or promote a product. Self-amused pranksters. These ones really bother me because these guys do it just for the fun of pulling something off on somebody else. And then the final category is disinformation agents. And we've talked about that. This came out at a time where David Grush was giving his testimony, and you have a lot of people talking about UFOs. So the conspiracy is, well, what if some government shadow group comes out and tries to kind of mollify the hysteria by putting out something that could be later described or found to be a prank, right? And so you put out this outlandish story and sort of ridicule and make fun of those who are now starting to believe what's coming out in disclosure. I really think that is not very plausible in this situation, but some people do.
It's interesting. The police department felt they were legitimately scared, didn't think they were lying, and you'd have to be really, really good at assuming a meteor's coming to get your ruse all together for that very moment, so that it aligns with the meteor coming by. Guys, thank you for this. Ben Hansen, Mark Berry, really appreciate it. Thank you for watching.
Okay, so I'm gonna again disagree. I think that there are enough holes in the story, and there are enough gaps in the narrative, and enough lack of evidence that this very well could be disinformation. Honestly, to me, this is to use Ben's classification system there. I'm going to say my number one pick is disinformation, because if you have a government that for decades upon decades upon decades refuses to comment on a certain topic, you could say in this case I'm talking about UFOs, but you could plug in any topic into this little diagram I'm putting together here. You could put anything in there. The actual history of the United States, slavery. If the United States wanted to deny that slavery happened, they could just start flooding the market with opposing narratives and going out and finding documents, written letters, evidence to the contrary, and they could just get rid of it. And then if they just kept doing it, eventually people would forget that slavery happened, and they could just form this other narrative, weave this other yarn, and get people to eventually start believing some other thing. And they could just fill in whatever. And in this case with UFOs, this is a topic that the government has completely ignored or debunked or said was nonsense for decades. And now all of a sudden, the government is seemingly taking it seriously. And now the stories of alien visitations and crashed UFOs and all this stuff, and Navy pilots coming forward, Navy radar operators coming forward. Again, no one from the Air Force coming forward. Air Force is dead silent on this. Okay. Another super red flag, considering, yeah, as I'm sure most of my listeners will know, because of Project Blue Book. The Air Force was intimately involved in this study for years. And when you see these these recent congressional hearings and UFO reports and all this stuff comes out, there's no acknowledgement, or there's no context put into it. There's no reference to Blue Book or any of these other things. So there's this denial of history, and there's just pick up. There's the arresting of this narrative of UFOs in recent years, and without the context of the history that came before that. That's a problem. That's a red flag for me. And now we're seeing UFO reports of stuff crashing in someone's backyard, and there's no evidence, there's no pictures, there's no videos. The story seems to be changing. There's a whistleblower that's not whistleblowing anything, connected to the same topic. There seems to be this like flooding of the market of these stories, of these narratives that aren't verified. They're not backed up by other eyewitness testimony. They're not backed up by any documents. They're not backed up by images or videos or anything. But yet this story is still being spun and is now being sort of flooded into the market of media, right? You're seeing this stuff on NPR and CNN. I mean, it's crazy. Like growing up as a kid, that stuff never showed up in mainstream media. But now it's kind of everywhere. That's a problem because we're not seeing concrete evidence of anything yet. The mainstream media and the government is supposed to be taking this seriously, but we're not being shown anything. We're not being shown anything concrete. And that in itself is a big red flag for me. If the government wants something released, they'll release it. If there's something the government does not want released and someone tries to release it, that person is going to have some serious problems, or they'll just disappear, or you'll never hear from them. Like I touched on earlier in the episode, real whistleblowers are releasing information that the system and the government, the military, company, whatever entity doesn't want released, and that's why a whistleblower is persecuted, prosecuted, disappeared, suicided, whatever. It's all happened. And the fact that this whistleblower is releasing this information and nothing's happening to them, I find it problematic. And then this story comes along. It just seems like there's just so many holes in it. It's just, I don't know. And I'm passionate about this thing because I want it to be true. I want to have, not that I want some other alien race to crash a vehicle and have some alien get hurt. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is I want the evidence to be dropped in our lap. I want this to be true. I want Bigfoot to be real. I want UFOs to be real. I want elves and fucking fairies to be real. I want all the stuff to be real. Bigfoot, the Mothman, name it, the Loch Ness, anything you want to talk about. Any sort of high strangeness, weird shit that you can think of or name in any region or country or area of the world. I want it all to be true. But that's exactly why I'm willing to kind of pick this apart, because if I see problems with a narrative and I see problems with a story, I'm gonna point it out, because not because I want to discredit everything and I don't believe in any of it. It's because it's the exact opposite. Actually, I want this stuff to be true. I want it to be true. And so if I see something that a story comes out that has problems with it, I'm going to point it out, because I want to weed through the noise and get to the signal. Right. So anyway, that's my take on this disclosure / alien / UAP / whatever the hell you want to call it phenomenon. I will continue to follow this, and if more interesting stories come out in the media, I will share it with you all, and I'll give you my take on it. Again, if you have any information, or if you've come across any information that I do not have, that I have not covered here, and that I have not mentioned in any of my past episodes, I welcome you to share it with me. You can send any information to me at mailtothebunker@gmail.com. Once again, that is mailtothebunker@gmail.com. Please just forward that information to me, and I will be glad to go through it and listen to it and watch it. And, you know, and if it seems credible, I'll say so. If it seems not credible to me, I'll also say so. I'll give you my take on it, but I honestly, I welcome any and all information on this topic or any other topic of high strangeness. Please do not hesitate to share that with me, and I'll be sure to give you credit and perhaps bring you on or into the bunker, but at least I'll address the information for sure. So once again, I want to thank you all for listening and joining us in the bunker, and we'll see you next time. If this world, as if it can't get any weirder, don't say it, because it might. We'll catch you next time in the bunker.